Thank you for tuning into the Sagebrush. I am Headhunter, the sage behind the brush, and today we're going to look at the US Ariadna Sectorial Army Pack for Infinity by Corvus Belli. I don't play Infinity yet. It's something that I picked up for a couple of reasons. First of all is the terrain inside the box, which we will see later in the video. Second of all, in case you haven't seen this product before, werewolves. I love werewolves. I love wolves. They're my favorite animal. I used to play Werewolf the Apocalypse back in the day. So if you give me science fiction werewolves in body armor with rifles, I'm all for it. So let's have a look inside the box and see what we find. Okay, plain white box, but don't let that fool you. There's a lot of stuff inside, and I am taking a look at it for the first time just as you are. So let's have a look inside. Here we have the intro. Gives you some information on the setting for Infinity. 175 years in the future, humanity has colonized a number of systems collectively known as the human sphere. These are basically founded by nations that originate on Earth. They've been fighting some secret wars to maintain the balance of power, but there is a threat from aliens from beyond, and that's something that you'll see in a lot of science fiction games. The US Ariadna force is what's called a sectorial. They're a smaller sub-faction within Ariadna, which is one of the larger factions within the game. Basically, the setting for this particular pack is that the US Ariadna forces have an outpost on a boreal world. In other words, a world that's mostly wintry. That's not unexpected when you're talking about a faction that has wolves. And there are these creatures that are outside the wire. They're called antipodes, and those are the more wolf-like wolves rather than the human-like wolves, basically in typical werewolf fashion. Anybody who's injured by these wolves, if they give birth, they're going to give birth to these humanoid kind of werewolves that you see on the box. So here we have some information on the other units within the US Ariadna faction that come in the box. You have the Grunts, you have the Marauders. These are basically Rangers in space. The Devil Dogs. Here's what we're talking about. We have the Handlers, and then we have the Antipodes, which are more feral. It's very dangerous outside the wire. We'll see some information later in the book that shows you why. Here we have the Mavericks. They're the motorcycle troops. More Rangers, Minutemen. It will show you everything that's included in the box, so there's a lot to see here. Here we have some information on how to play Infinity. It shows you basically all of the rules. So if you're interested in learning Infinity, you've got the basics there. Here we have the stats for the various units, not only in the box, but elsewhere within the faction. We have some missions. You have your maps for how to set up your missions, including the terrain. Nicely painted miniatures. They look really great, and one of the things that I've found in the other games that I play is a lot of people use Infinity models because they're beautiful. Here we have Roger Van Zant. He's basically the commander of the 6th Airborne Rangers, the US Ariadna faction. This guy's a badass. There's a convention version of this miniature which looks even cooler than that. Think of him kind of like Colonel Quaritch from Avatar. All kinds of units within here. Some of the things that you can obtain to enhance your Infinity experience. Operation Ice Storm. This is something that I'm pretty sure that my friend Josh from over on WargamingNewb has obtained as well. By the way, want to send out a great big thank you to Josh from WargamingNewb and WargamingNewb Historical for sending me this fantastic webcam. If you've seen my previous video, you'll see a difference in the quality with this current one. Much better. So we have a couple of different scenario packs and scenery. What we've got here are various stations. The Navajo Outpost pack is what actually comes in this box. We have Hephaestus, we have Modutronica. I've actually got a couple on order. We've got Daedalus Gate and Kurage. That's the other one that I'm looking for. All sorts of accessories, beautiful. Now the terrain in this box is not as sturdy and durable as what you get in battle systems, but it's certainly fine. You're not dealing with massive, heavy miniatures like you would in War Machine, for instance. Here's a map of the area that the US Ariadna forces operate in. Fort Apache is the outpost that we're talking about in this supplement, and you'll see that it is outside the wire, and in order to get from the civilized areas, MOB Liberty to Fort Apache is an area called Dead Man's Journey, and it's very difficult. Not everybody survives the trip. These antipodes are very dangerous. So here we are, we're into the Spanish portion of the book, so we can set that aside for now and move on to the other components. Okay, here we have a couple of counter sheets. You have your flamer templates, you have your scatter template, you have your range ruler, you have your various counters for units and different states within the game, suppressed, activated, things like that. One of the things that you'll see that you might not be familiar with in other games are what are called silhouettes. You may know them as cylinders from other games. I think War Machine uses cylinders, some of the other games. Basically what this is because the models that you'll see within the game might be of different proportions, this is a way to objectively determine, based on the size of a unit, whether or not that unit is in cover or can be seen by another model. And this is something that I'm not really that big on in gaming. I think it kind of destroys the immersion to take a model out of the way and say, hey, let's get the cylinder or silhouette up there to see if you can really see that. Not something that I enjoy. So I'm basically more of a true line of sight kind of guy. If you can see the model from the firer's perspective, then you can shoot it. If there is some kind of disagreement, go ahead and roll a die. Work it out with your opponent. Pretty sure that if you're playing somebody reasonable, they'll be willing to see things. And if not, roll off for it. So you have a number of miniatures here. We're going to take a look at them individually. Not every one of them. There are several here. But you can see the detail. These are all metal miniatures. Metal is not my favorite to work with. I prefer plastic over something like metal or resin. Plastic is just easier to work with, easier to clean up, easier to do conversions if you need to. Here is, to me, the meat and potatoes. This is an awesome miniature. Comes in a couple of different parts. We have actually two of them. These are the bodies. This one, as you can see, with the body armor, that's going to be the handler. This one, nasty looking, that's an antipode. And the other components will be found in the other baggies here. This is the motorcycle. That's ridden by Maverick, who is one of the characters that's exclusive to this box. So if you're looking for Maverick, the US Ariadna starter pack is where you are going to find it. Quality control tags. Looks like there are a number of people who participated in packing this box. And I think that's a great thing. If you ever come up short on something in the box, you can always contact the company and say, hey, I didn't get this particular component packed by Inspector 12 from Haynes. So let's set those aside and move on to some of the other things that are included. Bases, of course, and you'll see that the bases are a number of different sizes, and you can probably figure out that you have one for the motorcycle. These are for the antipode and the handler, and then these are for the normal line troops. These are standard 25mm bases. These are probably 40s, and that is probably a 50 or 60. I'm gonna guess 50. Set that aside. Infinity uses D20s. I love the color of these dice. There you see the target symbol on the dice. So these are not specifically special dice as such, but they've got kind of a custom appearance. So the next thing we have in the box is the Navajo Outpost Scenery Pack. This is great. It's one of the things that I love about these starter boxes for Infinity is they come with some terrain and a play mat that you can play on. The great thing with small skirmish games is these mats and terrain are small enough that you can play on your kitchen table or your dining room table. So this is basically the scenery that you'll get within the Navajo Outpost pack. Buildings are fairly easy to assemble. If you've ever done any papercraft, you basically fold it over, glue the tabs together, and you have a building. And it comes with 2, 3, 4 of these largest buildings. You have a number of crates and boxes for cargo and cover. Keller Resources Group is one of the contractors within the Infinity universe. Then you have Sterling Forge. They're another company within Infinity. Here you have the USARF Expeditionary Force. The USARF Expeditionary Force is, of course, the branch or larger unit that these models and the US Ariadna are part of. You have a double-sided mat that is too big, of course, to show here. That has the art that's from the cover of the box, and that werewolf is fantastic, very menacing, very frightening looking. I certainly wouldn't want to meet him in a dark alley or on the battlefield. And there you have Maverick, if any of you remember the Tina Fey sketch from Saturday Night Live. The backside is the playmat, and that's a 2-foot by 3-foot playmat. Again, great size for your kitchen or dining room table, smaller tables in your local game store, so it's easier to get a game in. You're not in the way of everything. Having a look at the back of the box, it shows you everything that's included. 3 US Ariadna grunts, 1 Marauder, 1 Minuteman, 1 Foxtrot Ranger, the Devil Dogs, which are the werewolves that include a Devil Dog, which is the handler, and the canine antipode. You get the exclusive Maverick figure, 64-page US Ariadna Army Pack booklet that we have seen, Navajo Outpost Scenery Pack, includes the buildings and the crates, order and state markers. So that, in a nutshell, is the US Ariadna Army Pack for Infinity by Corvus Belli. Next, we'll have a look at the completed setup, including the playmat, the assembled buildings, the assembled and painted miniatures, so you can see what it all looks like on the table. Thanks again for tuning in. If you liked this video, please like. If you'd like to see future videos, please click on the subscribe button and the bell to receive notifications. We'll be doing more coverage not only of Infinity in the future, but other skirmish games. Thank you again for joining us. I will see you next time. Take care and stay safe.